So this is very important. Build a solid foundation for your child. And a lot of parents will show off about how their 8-year-old is now doing the 10 to 11 books. That's fine. The question is, will they pass? Some parents really show off. I had a parent contact us and tell me that she'd heard from her daughter's classmate or something, and I recorded a video about this because of that. I told her that I would, and she was happy with it. They were teaching GCSE maths for one of the grammar school tests. I just thought, what will they need to know trigonometry and circle theorem for? That is not going to be in the exam. Hello, so if you live in a county like Bexley or Buckinghamshire and your child is preparing for their 11 plus exam, you know, the grammar school selection test in September of 2023, keep watching this video, get an understanding of the GL assessment papers that your child will now be doing. So my name's Joycelyn Akufo. I am the Managing Director of Geek Score Tutoring. We provide 11 plus tuition for students. We were actually 10 years into helping students get into their dream grammar and independent schools. And goodness, we've helped hundreds get into them. Maybe I'll put a snippet of some of the schools that we've helped children get into, and for independent schools, amazing scholarship offers too. We provide tuition at our centres in Beckenham and Lewisham, and we also provide online 11 plus tuition via our sister site 11plussa.co.uk. Back to GL. So basically, GL assessment is the main provider of grammar school exams. They were more established than SEM, which was basically a department within the University of Durham that was commissioned, I guess, to write these tutor proof or preparation proof exam papers for counties like Bexley and Buckinghamshire, amongst others, because they felt that children who were being tutored had an unfair advantage, and their aim, I guess, was to produce something that would be quite unique, basically. So here we are. The GL assessment is the primary provider really of school exams, and they also provide verbal and non-verbal reasoning papers for some independent schools. Some of them use ISEB, but as I say, they're very established. So I'm going to look at everything, basically talk about everything that a parent needs to know. If you've never heard of GL assessments, if you're new to the 11 plus, if your child is preparing for a grammar school exam and so on, we need to get a handle on all of that. So who are they? GL assessment basically stands for Granada Learning, and they create 11 plus exam papers as well as for independent schools, as I said. And the idea is to provide a paper-based, non-adaptive, meaning that the difficulty level does not change based on the answers provided by the student, because all the students will get exactly the same booklet. I make that point because for just about all the computer-based tests that are used in independent schools, and there's talk about will grammar school counties and schools start using the SEM adaptive or GL adaptive or ISEB adaptive. Who knows? There's a possibility, but who knows what will happen. But effectively, with those adaptive tests, yes, it does change according to the exam, the answers that a child is giving. If they're making mistakes, it adapts to what their knowledge so that it can get a good idea of what they understand and so on. So what does the GL 11 plus paper include? Well, generally it assesses the 4 subjects: English, maths, verbal reasoning and non-verbal reasoning. However, not all schools and regions test in the 4 subjects. One example is Medway. They don't test in all areas. They don't have a non-verbal reasoning paper at the time of recording. So now I'm going to have to stipulate more of that, because anything is possible. This is something that I've been saying for a long time. So it's one of the reasons why I'm always encouraging parents to have their children be tutored on all areas, just in case there's a change. But anyway, schools and counties can choose to combine any of the papers basically in their test content. It doesn't really matter. And the test basically covers all of Key Stage 2 national curriculum objectives in English and maths, including the Year 6 objectives, even though at the time of sitting the exam in September, generally for grammar schools of Year 6, clearly for some students they've literally just walked into school for a couple of days, and then after that they are at a test centre that weekend or the following day or something. So it's at the beginning of Year 6. SATs are what is used to test Key Stage 2 knowledge. Those exams are not until May, so it gives you an idea of how advanced the paper is. Now, I wish that I could agree with just that line about it covering just the Key Stage 2 national curriculum. I don't believe it stays there, because when you look at some of the questions, some of the knowledge required far exceeds that basically. And of course, verbal and non-verbal reasoning are not part of the national curriculum objectives, and so it's not something your child's primary school would really be covering unless I'm saying nothing. I hear all sorts of strange things, but I'm staying focused, people. I'm being very good today. Anyway, so the GL English paper, basically that, again, the structure can vary, but most common arrangements have reading comprehension with, let's say, 20 questions, followed by 3 other sections that look at spelling, punctuation and grammar, and they're roughly about 12 questions each. Then we have the GL maths paper. So usually it has about 50 questions and children have 50 minutes to complete that. And I can hear some shock from the camera as parents watch this, but that SEM would provide probably half that time basically for about 3/4 of those questions, right? Did you know? Or about half the time, no, 1/4 of the time, should I say, for about half the number of questions. So GL is actually being very nice. And if you think of all the arithmetic style questions and so on that children who have been well prepared for their 11 plus exams will complete, you would know that literally it doesn't work out equally to a minute per question. There'll be questions that your child can do in just a few seconds and so on. So what is apparent though is that your child needs to have rapid recall of number facts. Times tables shouldn't even come into question. Your child needs to really understand the Key Stage 2 curriculum, national curriculum content, everything to do with numbers, measurement, data, so graphs and things, a bit of algebra, some geometry, and that is just an overall rounded off topic list. As I said, there are other topics that are not in Key Stage 2 that you will even see them on the familiarization papers. If you don't believe me, go and have a look. So before we carry on with this amazing video, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so that you will get notified every time a new Geek Score video goes up. Enjoy! You will see. Anyway, so the GL verbal reasoning paper. This looks at your child's ability to basically connect spot patterns to do with words and letters, and there are some maths-based questions in there. I don't even know why they still call this thing verbal reasoning, because it gives the idea that it's all about words. But verbal reasoning actually contains some maths. Yes, I repeat, verbal reasoning actually contains some maths-based problems. So that's something to bear in mind. So if your child is sitting any county exam that says they don't cover maths and you think, oh, wonderful, much easier for Johnny or Sally or whatever your child's beautiful name is, you would be mistaken for ignoring maths entirely. And at the end of the day, when your child gets into these highly competitive grammar schools, you still want them to feel like they belong there, not feel like, you know, they are so below everybody else's maths level. So it's important to give them a holistic approach. I think I've said that now a few times. I'm hoping that parents, you will really get the grasp of this. So there's nothing more disheartening than to get a place at a grammar school, and obviously we know that there is a minimum level of academic understanding, and then a child feels as if they're useless at a subject. So let's make sure that we don't leave any boxes unticked, no stone unturned. So in the GL verbal reasoning paper, there are typically about 80 questions, and your child really needs to have a broad vocabulary base. They need to have word knowledge. They need to have an understanding of the meaning of words, whether they're given a passage, a sentence, or just the word. And on a side note, this is one of the reasons why I've created our Geek Readers online reading club, because since COVID and the national lockdowns, I've seen an even bigger dip in children's desire to even pick up a book. I know we try as parents. I'm a parent too. I understand the journey. Thankfully, both of our children have gone through the 11 plus process, and they are survivors like their mother speaking with you right now. I can't emphasize the importance of reading enough. So if your child doesn't like reading, struggles to read and so on, check out our Geek Readers online lessons. Basically, with that, they also have access to a whole bank of classical texts, which are generally used in these exams, basically, especially the English exams. So you really want to check that out. It comes free. There are hundreds of books that they can download onto their Kindle, their tablets, and so on. And it's all inclusive in the reading lesson. So basically, all you need to do is to get them online, and you know that they would have read at least one session a week. And it's more than just reading the words in the book. We obviously discuss what passages mean and all of that, basically. So it really helps the students. So then we move on to the GL nonverbal reasoning paper. So this looks at things like spatial reasoning and children's ability to problem solve using diagrams, basically, but it's an extension of maths. So they're going to be using skills like their rotation, their symmetry, and so on. And they'll be looking at different types of patterns and trying to work out the rules and so on. So then it's logic, basically, that's being tested rather. So with nonverbal, it's basically looking at the strengths of the students in the maths and the sciences somehow. Verbal reasoning and nonverbal, they're used to sort of predict what a student's outcomes could be, basically. And I guess that's why some schools are happy to just test in verbal and nonverbal reasoning, like Newstead Wood School but as I say, they're not topics in isolation. They pull on the skills of English and maths and so on. So I guess you'd want to know how the GL papers are scored and graded. Okay, let's move on. So Basically, I tell students that every single question is worth the same mark, and nothing fills me with unnecessary emotion than seeing a child spend 10 minutes trying to work out question 12 when they've still got so many other questions to do, because leaving out 20, 30, 40 questions just to get the answer for 12 means they would definitely fail that paper, because they would have obviously not got even halfway. Basically, effectively, all the questions are weighted the same, basically. So after all of that, the scores are combined. I'm pausing because I can hear strange noise. I'm trying to work out where it's coming from. But anyway, let's focus. So the scores are combined, and different schools weight subjects differently. So in Kent, at the time of recording, each of the 4 papers are weighted the same. So it's 25% across the board. In other counties, they may decide to weigh more heavily on, let's say, verbal reasoning or something, basically. So it can depend on what the county or the school choose to do. But one thing you need to know is that basically the scores are then age standardized. So as we know, you've got all the summer babies born in August, July and so on, who are literally, they would have just turned 11 on the day of the 11 plus exam, whereas their peers, some of them would have turned 11 the first week of September and so on. So it's almost an academic year ahead if we think of it in those terms. So the idea of the age standardization scoring is to remove any disadvantage that children who are born later in the year may have with their peers. So basically, I would say that when I'm working with students, I advise parents not to even mention this to their child. And if you're watching this and you're, going for your 11 plus exam, please don't think you can just do anything on the paper because you are younger than everyone else. The age standardization is less than 2% from what I've seen. So it matters, but if you don't do the work, it won't make a difference, really. So you still have to work as hard as everyone else. So basically, guys, the GL paper is designed to identify the top 25% of students who are suited for the academic rigors of grammar school education. Are you one of them? Are you? I say the top 15%, because the exams have become even more competitive. Obviously, you have people like myself who think that everybody should know about these exams, so that every child who is academically able has the opportunity to go to a school that is befitting of them. And so more and more people are finding out about these exams. You can thank me later. And for all the haters out there, I don't want to know. But anyway, so the test does assess skills that go beyond Key Stage 2. You need to prepare your child. I can't stress that enough. And, if you are sort of unable to do a whole year or something of tuition, get yourself an intensive course. If you're unsure, we provide intensive courses at Geek Score and on the 11 plus essay all the time, usually around the April and summer terms. But because of the impact of COVID and a lot of what I'm seeing, we are going to start branching that out. I actually teach the intensives as well. So your child will have the pleasure of being whipped into shape in my lessons, but it's something that I'm very passionate about. So the exams difficulty, yes, the 11 plus exams are not easy exams. They're not as easy as the SATs. Just the fact that your child needs to know everything from year 6 in September of year 6 in the exam and more tells you that it's not as easy as the SATs will be for them 6 months or so later, more than that. But one thing to note is that it's become more difficult to get into a grammar school because there's a lot more competition to get into the schools, you see. So that's what makes it harder also to get into the schools. And because of something called the top 180 rule, and because grammar schools are looking for the academically able students that can get to the school, it just makes it more competitive, basically. So you don't actually need to live in the borough of a grammar school for your child to gain entry. You see, we send children from, let's say, Lewisham Borough. We've been doing this for 10 years, to schools in Kent, in Medway, in Bromley, in Sutton. And there's a school called St Michael's Catholic Grammar School, which is in Finchley, I believe. And we send them there too. So a lot of these schools have coaches, and obviously when there aren't train strikes on, they can be quite accessible for children to get to. And some parents are happy to commute their children to and from a good grammar school if it means that they will get the best that a non-fee paying education can get them. So just some takeaways. If you're watching this and your child isn't in year 5 and they're in year 4 or year 3, start early. I've got lots of videos on this channel about the importance of starting as early as year 4. We're seeing more children start in year 3 now. Yes, we tutor from reception. So that's how some parents just want their children to be in the right place. But of course, all of this costs money. We aren't a charity, so we're not doing this for free. However, what you can do at home is to make sure that the basics are covered. Reading is so crucial. It's so crucial in all aspects. And times tables, make sure that by the end of year 3, your child knows the times tables 1 to 12 without counting on their fingers, without listing them. They're able to give you the answer as quickly as possible. Get them to really enjoy reading and storytelling, play some puzzles, Sudoku, Scrabble, all of these things to help them see things through a different lens. It will really help your child get in line to being well prepared for these exams. And basically, don't jump to an 8 to 9 book just because your child is 8. For the 11 plus, it's more advanced, basically. So if your child isn't doing well in the 8 to 9 books, go a step before that. I'm not going to say below, because they need to know all of this content anyway. So we'll go a step before the 8 to 9 and really make sure they understand everything before moving on. So this is very important. Build a solid foundation for your child. And a lot of parents will show off about how their 8-year-old is now doing the 10 to 11 books. That's fine. The question is, will they pass? Some parents really show off. I had a parent contact us and tell me that she'd heard from her daughter's classmate or something, and I recorded a video about this because of that. I told her that I would, and she was happy with it. They were teaching GCSE maths for one of the grammar school tests. I just thought, what will they need to know trigonometry and circle theorem for? That is not going to be in the exam. You see, meanwhile, is your child getting 100% in the actual 11 plus books in the maths and other areas? Probably not. And yet we're rushing to do GCSE maths. That doesn't make any kind of sense at all. But these are the things that are bandied around, and it's misinformation, and parents are then left panicking or made to feel that their child would never be ready, because yes, in the grand scheme of things, how many 10, 11-year-olds would have been able to consume all the content for Key Stage 2? And if you're teaching them GCSE maths, you would have had to cover Key Stage 3 maths too. So what you're saying is that literally in year 4 and 5, you want to teach them about 6-7 years worth of maths. Does that make sense? It doesn't to me, but focus on your child And it's about the consistency, being diligent with all these things. Consistency, be consistent with the work. Make sure that they have a schedule. Try and be as structured as possible, and keep going, keep going, keep going. It will all add up to seeing your child's improvement. And the beautiful part is when their confidence starts to kick in, because it means that they now understand that they're good. And this is what really helps students as well. You see, confidence in their ability, confidence in their knowledge, confidence in their understanding. Then I want to talk about the familiarization papers. So a mistake that many parents make is jumping straight into the familiarization papers, and then when their children score terribly, they start panicking, and all they do is more familiarization papers. And actually some tuition providers do that. That is not how to teach the 11 plus. So if your child literally just does papers when they go for tuition, how do you expect them to improve without being taught the content? We actually don't do that at Geek Score. Literally step by step, this is how you do this. You do this step, then that step. Look for this, look for that, check that. And then we unleashed some of the questions. But you need to be careful about these things. So don't just jump into the familiarization papers. I know that in year 5 you probably think, oh, maybe I should do that. If you do, don't look at the score, if it's a low score in particular, for instance, and then say, oh, you need to do more practice. Here are the other 5. Do that on 12 o'clock on Monday. No, you then need to look at where the gaps are and fill them. And if you don't know how to fill the gaps, where possible, don't guinea pig with your child's chances. Get them on an intensive course, as I said, or get a tutor. Get in touch with geekscore.co.uk, and our number's on there, our WhatsApp is on there. I take the calls, I respond to the WhatsApp messages. Please do bear with me, because literally we are inundated with inquiries all the time. But I like to personally speak to parents myself, even though we've got so many students, even though I have a team that I work with, because the kind of understanding personally, because I wrote the exams and attended an independent school, my children the same, and so on, and all the hundreds of children that I've helped across so many different grammar school exams, across so many different independent school exams. I just want to help, so I like to answer the queries, answer the phone calls, do the consultation calls, and so on. I'll keep doing that until it's just not feasible to do all of them. But in the meantime, if you're watching this video in 2023, you're one of the lucky ones. Get in touch and I'm more than happy to help. Okay, so at this point, I'm wondering whether this video will even make it onto YouTube in one piece because it's so long. I am going to end it right here. Any questions that you have, that you can just put them in the comments and so on. And I love the way that I see parents and the children commenting, giving tips, coming back and talking about their exams or writing about their exams. It's beautiful. I absolutely love that. Please keep it going, and check the description. There's information on there that will be useful to you, and I will see you soon. Bye. Hi there, I'm Joycelyn Akufo. I'm the Managing Director of Geek Score Tutoring. So we provide face-to-face tuition at our Beckenham and Catford Centre, and we also provide online tuition for small groups and also one-to-one tuition online. So if you're looking for 11 plus tuition, we cover everything: maths, English, verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, and creative writing. And as if that's not enough, we have a whole range of DIY video-based courses covering everything from our renowned creative writing crash course, our express writing course, and and our independent school interview course, and much more, check out the website. We have new courses coming up every time. So head over to www.geekscore.co.uk to find out more about how we can help your child ace their 11 plus exams and get into their school of choice. Bye.